Said go! Hey everybody, and welcome back to the premiere episode of Season 2 of Simon Says on the Mark. So much has changed in the months since we've been away. Lo and behold, the Buffalo Bills are a winning football team. What? Mark has gone from manic depressive to relatively optimistic, if you can believe it. He's been growing out his sideburns ever since their Week 1 win, and at this rate he'll be getting his caveman on by our next episode. We also have our radio show on 89.5 FM on Sundays, but for the next 30 minutes, it's a throwback to where it all began, Columbia High School. And now I hand it off to Mark. Hike!
To kick things off, punt attempted. We have Hunter Klein, Columbia Varsity Soccer.
Hunter Klein is joining us now. He's a senior varsity midfielder for the storied Columbia High School soccer program. And Hunter, obviously, thanks for joining us. And
of course, thanks for having me on, guys. Real pleasure.
Breaking down this season. And before we get in depth about this year's team, Columbia soccer begins and ends, obviously, with Coach Chisowich, the winningest coach, high school-wise, in the history of American soccer. And he has been in Columbia soccer for ages now. What's it like to play for him?
Oh, well, Coach C's been the coach now for, I think, if I'm not wrong, I think this year could be his 50th year. And, you know, people poke fun at him if they have him for gym.
Of course.
Or if they just see him around because of his voice and just the way he acts in general. But in all honesty, on the soccer field, he still pretty much has it all there. Sometimes
Good to know.
Yeah.
Very reassuring.
Yeah. No, sometimes he can honestly get frustrating because he has lost a little bit over the years.
Scandal here on Simon Says on the Mark.
But no, he's still doing a great job. I mean, he's won numerous state championships over the years. He still consistently gets over 500, so I mean, no reason to end now if he can still keep going.
There you go. And great ping pong player as well. I found out the hard way in gym. You don't want to cross him in that.
Right, a true professional. So we're a month into the season now. I believe you're 1-3-1 at this point. Where do you go from here? How are you guys going to improve? Strength of scheduling. You know, who's stepping up for you guys? You know, what's on tab basically?
This is my third year on varsity, and this is by far, in the nicest way possible, it's been the most frustrating year. Especially since I'm a senior, so I feel like I have more responsibility over the team. But we definitely have a lot of talent that Coach C has brought in. We have Mervyn's Noel and his cousin Irvin.
Mervyn and Irvin, and they both play attack,
Mervyn's
right?
and Irvin. They're both forwards, and they're both very, very talented. Coach C actually just today recruited a Trinidadian kid, I think a freshman,
nice, named
Jabari, who I hope he'll be a fine addition to the squad. But then there's also me, Mark Urick, Dave Ferrajaro, and Emmanuel Entalmensa are the captains. And then we have a bunch of players that have stepped up to fill in the rest of that roster.
And now, like much of the other sports at Columbia soccer faces a really tough road. I mean, you've had to play some serious competition. Seton Hall Prep, Livingston, Milburn, all on the schedule, some multiple times. Despite the first month of the season, obviously going 1-3-1, how do you feel you guys are stacking up against some of the soccer powerhouses in the conference?
Oh, well, I mean, it's no secret you got to play Seton Hall twice in a year. That it's going to be tough there. Last year, I think they were number 2 in the whole country. So them, Milburn, West Orange they're a real tough one too. But the thing is about high school soccer, which I realized in my third year, is that you don't even need to be that skilled. It really is all about heart. It's all about determination, what you do on the field. If you work hard, you normally will get paid off. And the result, you'll probably get a W.
There you go.
Right, and so like you said, you're a senior, you're a captain. You've obviously been around the program for a while. You know the ins and outs, basically, of Chiz's coaching style. So looking at the team, you know, obviously you won't be here next year. Looking at the guys beneath you, juniors, sophomores, freshmen, Who's going to step up in the next few years, and where do you see the program going from here?
I think we got a lot of young potential, I would say. I mean, this kid, Irvin, which I mentioned before,
Yep.
kind of shaky as to what grade he actually is in. Yeah, classic Columbia.
Hey, it happened. It's happened.
Yeah,
before.
but this kid Jabari is going to be freshman. He's kind of unproven talent. But then the juniors that have proven themselves, Max Jurgen is coming back as their starting goalie. Then we actually have, I think 2014 is going to be it's going to be a nice shining moment in Columbia soccer. We got Noah Mydell, Craig Binder, and Charlie Dowder all on varsity. Then juniors this year, we still got Drew DeFleury, and yeah, that's it.
Looks good, and hopefully Chiz will still be there coaching. Hunter Klein, Russell Simon, obviously Mark Donatelli. We'll go to commercial. We'll come back with more Football Frenzy after this.
Television is a powerful and influential medium that allows different groups the opportunity to produce programming that directly affects their own communities. Public, educational, and government access channels ensure that all people, regardless of race, age, gender, disability, religion, or economic status, have access to local government information and the use of a public communication forum. Make sure everyone has a voice. Support your local PEG channels.
Welcome back to Simon Says on the Mark. And now that we've got the CHS soccer out of the way, it's time for our NFL preview. We've already played 2 weeks, but hey, we've got 14 left to go. And let's look on the bright side with that. After these 2 weeks, Mark, the Jets and the Bills both 2-0, so it's a perfect time to be in the Simon Says on the Mark family, which is not really a big family, but hey, Jets and Bills both 2-0. Can't ask for much more.
Right, that being said, we're going to jump right into our preview here. AFC East, only seems right, Bills, Jets. 3 teams are 2-0 as of right now. It's not going to last long. Next week, Bills will host the New England Patriots.
How you feeling about that one?
To be honest, not too confident,
Yeah.
but I'll take anything positive you can get out of that game. But moving to the preview, right now the Patriots are looking as though they're on pace to have another 2007-like year. Tom Brady has just played absolutely phenomenal. It's just amazing how Belichick... He's been around with this team for over a decade now, and no one has ever caught up to what he's been doing so far, and it looks like they're on pace to put up record numbers again.
They look fantastic. You watch them for 2 weeks, and you already get a sense of just how dominant this team is going to be once again. They get the new pieces, Hainsworth, Ocho Cinco, and they settle in like they have been there their whole lives. They look stellar. They beat San Diego real bad, and of course the game against Miami with Tom Brady throwing for an almost absurd amount of yards. So nothing really surprises me with this team. They're the clear favorite in this division, as sad as it makes me to say it.
Right. I mean, the Jets will be there, and the Jets will be there until late. I don't think the Bills will be there for the division that long. That being said, maybe if they continue on the pace, offensively at least with what they're doing, maybe they could be a wild card contender into the late weeks.
Hey, you've got hope. You can ask for that. I mean, you have hope, so...
Definitely.
It's a stepping stone.
We have a compatible coach, and we have a compatible quarterback going right now.
I mean, I got to think Patriots first, Jets second. They've got to be the wild card. Then you look at the Bills third, probably. And then, of course, the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, this is a team, Mark, that is almost as bad as your haircut. So...
Wow.
They're
We're
pretty
going
bad.
there.
I mean, look at this
We're
thing
going
right
there.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, so Miami
Okay.
very bad, 0-2,
I'll give you that.
they're a mess. You probably will. The Bills will probably beat the Jets, and then I won't be able to come to school for the next week.
No, I will not let you hear the end of that.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So up until then, we've got our AFCs. And then let's head over to the North, a very intriguing division. You've got the Ravens, the Steelers. Where do you see them stacking up?
Right, and as of right now, the top teams right now is the Steelers and the Ravens. They're both 1-1, 2 disappointing losses from both sides.
Makes no sense.
Right now, I really like. I was completely surprised that the Titans ended up beating the Ravens. You just look at their offense. Ray Rice is probably the most versatile back in the AFC right now, especially with Jamal Charles out. That definitely helps his case. I know it's kind of more of an honorary title, but I think Flacco has gotten this reputation of not being able to produce in the postseason. I think he really wants to come out and prove that this year they can go at least to the AFC Championship.
And you look at the NFL after these 2 weeks, and you've got such parity, it's almost unbelievable. This was a Ravens team that just went out and killed the Pittsburgh Steelers, and anyone in the country. If you had told them that the Tennessee Titans were going to beat Baltimore, they would have called you crazy. But it's just the way it works in the NFL. So much parity. And you look at the Steelers and the Ravens specifically as the teams that stand out in that division. And they're both excellent. And they're both very good teams. They're both going to be up there for the wild card. I think the Ravens are number one. I just am not big on teams with that Super Bowl hangover. Pittsburgh looked okay. Week 2, they beat the Seahawks, who were terrible, and they got plastered by the Baltimore Ravens. And if you look at the Baltimore Ravens and the moves that they've made, and Ray Rice really blossoming into one of the stars in the running back position in the NFL, really, and I like what they've done there, and I think they're going to come in first, and I think Pittsburgh and the Jets both going to be the wild card spots, so that's where I see it stacking up in the AFC North.
Right, and since it is a review, we need to talk about the two bottom teams as of right now.
Of course.
And you talk about parity. Going into the season, the Bengals were the ones on the downside. They were the number one in the
Carson
Andrew Luck.
Palmer just quits.
Right. They were the number one in the Andrew Luck sweepstakes going into the year. The Browns are supposed to be the team on the rise. Week 1, what happens? Cincinnati goes into Cleveland and beats the Browns steadily. I think I'm going to go Ravens number 1. I think the Steelers will make the wild card.
I agree.
Browns, they like I said, they lost to the
you gotta
Bengals.
Go. Doesn't
They beat a battered Colts team. The Browns will be 3. But I don't think maybe the Bengals won't be as bad as everyone thinks.
I think the Bengals are going to be pretty bad. They're not haircut level bad. They're Miami Dolphins level up there with that kind of thing. Obviously, they're not as bad as the Indianapolis Colts from the AFC's. I'm sorry, I just had to do it, man. It's just staring me in the face. Whatever. So you look at the AFC South now with the Indianapolis Colts, a team that shaping up to be one of the worst. Now that Peyton Manning is out, he went to Europe for some exotic stem cell surgery to try and get him back. It just looks bleak for them, and everything in the AFC South is the new NFC West, and it's a pretty shaky division overall.
Right. It seems like the stars are kind of aligning for Houston right now.
Yes, finally.
Even with Foster hurt, they've still been able to beat, what everyone thought would be a good team in the Colts before Manning and that whole controversy. But they go into Miami, and given Miami's 0-2 right now, but their defense is very respectable. Matt Schaub
Wade Phillips, coordinator.
Yes, Wade Phillips did a great job putting them into a 3-4 defense. People were questioning, how's Mario Williams going to do in a 3-4, an outside linebacker from a stand-up position? He's doing perfectly fine. Like I said, I think everything's coming together perfectly for Houston right now, and this is their division.
It's theirs to lose, definitely, and we're not looking at a Houston Texan team that's going to go 12-4. All you got to do is really go 10-6, maybe even 9-7, and you win this division. Houston, Matt Schaub, a solid quarterback. He's not going to be a top-tier guy, but he's going to put up numbers throwing the ball to Andre Johnson, and I like what the Texans have done, upgrading their secondary, which was awful last year. You've still got Andre Johnson, so you're going to be a contender. They could easily go 6-0 in the division. This is an awful division, and I see them number 1.
Right, and I think, again, talking about the lower-tier teams, I think if there was a definition of a team in rebuilding mode, that's the Jaguars. They trade away their David Garrard, who's obviously
he was the starter.
Right. He was a relatively productive starting quarterback in the NFL. They don't trade him. Sorry, they release him. Nobody's picked him up yet.
Very surprising.
Luke McCown's their starting quarterback right now.
1.8 QB rating. Week 2 against the Jets. That's astounding.
Brutal.
That's terrible.
And what's even more brutal, if you're a Jaguar fan, which there aren't many, but
yeah, really.
What's more brutal is the fact that Blaine Gabbert can't take the job from Luke McCown.
That's scary.
So that is a scary thought to think about, and I think, honestly, they could end up being, number 1 pick overall, possibly. Even though right now are they going to take 2 quarterbacks in a row? I don't think so.
Now the question is, now that I've done this for every division, and I promise this is going to be the last one I'm going to make. Is the prospects of having Blaine Gabbert being unable to take the starting job from Luke McCown scarier than what will happen when you go to the barber?
I'm not going to answer that.
All right, well, let's just keep rolling. I think you're going to beat me up once the camera
Ask the ladies how they feel about the haircut.
Yeah, ooh, yeah, you got me there. All right, we're going to keep things PG, and you want a division that is not scary to our young viewers. It's the AFC West, up and coming. The San Diego Chargers, that was a very good segue, by the way. You've got the San Diego Chargers, the Kansas City Chiefs are decimated, but the Oakland Raiders are on their way up. This is a really interesting division. A lot can happen here. What do you think with the AFC West?
Right, and, obviously my Bills, just beat the Raiders, but I was in attendance. But honestly, even coming from a Bills standpoint, the Raiders are a good team. Their defense was not as bad as they were this Sunday. Jason Campbell, very underrated in his role with the Raiders.
I'd agree with that.
Going into the game as a Bills fan, what I was thinking, all right, if we can stop Darren McFadden, if we can contain him, we'll be fine. Michael Bush he's a good number 2 back, but the receiver core very thin. I'm just thinking, what's Jason Campbell going to do if we were stacking the box with 7 guys?
He's got to put up some serious points.
Right, and he did, and that's how they were killing the Bills all game. Their offense was obviously very productive. I think the Raiders are definitely an underrated team, and they'll be competing for the division title. I think right now the Chargers.
Division title?
To the division
for
title.
Oakland.
Yeah,
wow.
Why not? I mean, the Chargers are a good team. They're coming off a tough loss to the Patriots, but you never know. I mean, there's 14 more games left.
Phillip Rivers, enough said. They're going to win the division. They've got the best offense. The only reason they were bad last year is because of the million games that they lost on special teams. They'll win, 12, 11 games, be in first place. They'll be the only playoff team in the AFC West. Other than that, I like Oakland taking up the 2 spot. Kansas City is just awful. Decimated by injuries. They've got more blown ACLs than any team I can think of. And Denver, a very odd team. You don't know Tebow, John Fox. It's a very interesting dynamic that they've got over there. And you really don't know how good they're going to be. You got a sense they're not going to be very good, though. So that's how I'm going to go with Denver 3, Kansas City 4 from first to worst. Very disappointed in Kansas City, and it's only week 2.
Well, it's got to be tough to be a Kansas City fan right now.
It's got to be tough.
You lose Eric Berry week 1. You lose Jamal Charles week 2. They're a mess. They've been outscored 89 to 10 against obviously maybe a better Bills team and a better Lions team.
Buffalo and Detroit 89 to 10.
Yeah, still
that's crazy.
The Bills and the Lions are both on the rise, but they're not at the top of the league. There's no reason you should be getting blown out that bad. I'm gonna go with the Chargers winning the division. Raiders 2.
Of course.
I think the Broncos have to be 3 if the Chiefs keep this up.
God, we just agree on everything. Except
Sadly.
for the teams that we
and
like
haircuts, apparently.
Yeah, sorry. Well, bringing it over to the NFC now. Very interesting division, the NFC East. You've got the high-flying Eagles, now 1-1. Tough loss to Atlanta on Sunday night. And this is a team that's very interesting. They've got a million things going on. And one of the big question marks for the league, can Mike Vick stay healthy? He's out with the concussion, and this is a division mark with a million question marks. The Giants, pretty mediocre, typical ho-hum Giants team. They're 1-1 now, beat St. Louis on Monday night. And you really just don't know how this is going to shape up. Even the Redskins 2-0.
Right.
Where do you see this division going?
I think obviously a lot relies on Michael Vick's status injury-wise. Nobody really knows how bad the concussion is as of right now. I think maybe even a bigger storyline as of right now, if you're watching NFL Network, ESPN, the 2 stories going right now is Michael Vick and Tony Romo's comeback from injury type thing.
Punctured lung.
Right.
Man, no one gives him enough credit.
No,
he blows games, but he's a trooper. I kind of like him.
Well, I mean, he obviously felt like he needed to redeem himself after that Jets game. The fumble at the goal line, the interception on the rollout. It's one thing to throw the ball when you're rolling out. It's another thing.
Well, we didn't know that Revis was dropping back in the.
Still, you need to know that he's
Darrelle
there.
Revis is never in zone.
You need to know that he's there.
You have a better chance of seeing a solar eclipse than seeing Darrelle Revis.
I don't care who the
coverage.
corner is. You don't make that throw. You throw that ball away. Anyway, he redeemed himself in San Francisco. He came back. He battled with his teammates. I think that's not a bad Cowboy team. I think their defense.
And where do you see them stacking up in the division?
Again, a lot depends on Michael Vick's injury status. If he comes back relatively soon, if he's back this week, but how longevity,
no one knows.
How many games is he going to miss?
mystery.
Vince Young is hurt. Kafka coming in as the 3rd quarterback. I still like the Eagles. I think the one thing that a lot of people are overlooking, their linebacking core is exceptionally weak right now. Their defensive line is superb. You got Babin, Colin Jenkins, Cole, but still.
Secondary is fantastic.
Secondary is fantastic, but that linebacking core is exposed. I don't know how long the Redskins are going to keep this up.
I don't know about the Redskins. I think Eagles, number 1, you got to put them there. You don't know with Vic, but you still got to put him there. Then I'm going to go Dallas number 2 as the wild card. I really like how they're playing. Then I really don't like the Giants, but I'm not going to let my personal bias get in the way of this one. Giants 3, Redskins 4, but it's going to be very contested, and I could see the Giants dropping to 4, or even rising as high as 2. You never know.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to agree again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well,
I think it's part of the new chemistry. Season 2, we just get it.
Right, there's a little bit of mojo going.
Yeah,
but
really.
you know, the Eagles, you know, obviously they have all the proven veterans. Obviously, again, a lot depends on their injury status. But no, I think the Eagles are by far, on paper, the better team. We're only 2 weeks in, so you can't judge them by
And
that.
now we're going to keep that mojo rolling to the NFC North, where I'm going to go out on a limb right now, and I'm going to make a bold prediction. Yeah, the Packers have looked very good. I love the Detroit Lions. Upset City, Detroit #1, Packers #2. As the wild card, they'll probably be the 5. I love Detroit. I went to the Jets-Detroit game last year. They really impressed me. If Stafford can stay healthy, they've got a great receiver in Johnson. Pretty good running game. They're stacking up okay. And that defense is so good. They got Ndamukong Suh. Great front line. Very impressive. I really like the way they're playing.
Right, I'm going to take the other underdog in the division, though. I'm going to take the Chicago Bears to win the NFC North.
That's a good call.
This is a team that wants to come out and they want to prove themselves. Everyone was trashing Jay Cutler after last year's NFC Championship game. They're going to want to come out. They're going to want to prove that they are as much as they think they are. And I mean, yeah, you have the Packers. The Packers will be there. But I think when it comes down to it, I think the Bears are going to be hungry.
So you see Bears, Packers, Lions.
I see Bears, Packers, Lions. Yeah.
I see
and
Lions.
Vikings.
I see Lions. Packers.
Unfortunately,
Lions,
the
Packers,
Vikings in
Bears,
there.
Vikings.
Yeah.
NFC South, real quick. Another interesting division. The Buccaneers. I thought they'd be good, but they've been really disappointing the past 2 weeks.
Well, they could bounce back. Last week with their Youngry type thing going on.
I like
they'll bounce back. You know, they're 1-1. They got a big win this week. Honestly, I think the Falcons are going to win the division again.
Really?
On paper, they're a very good team. I really like the addition of Julio Jones to complement Roddy White. The Saints will be there. Again, they're going to be a hungry team. They're going to definitely want to, redeem themselves after last year's postseason.
I have faith in Drew Brees. I have faith in the New Orleans Saints. I think they're going to win the division. I think the Falcons are going to be right up there. It's going to be a 3-team battle for that second wild card spot. You're going to have a lot of battles going on there. I see the Falcons as the 2. And then I like Carolina, but I still think they're going to be in 4th. Cam Newton's very impressive, but they got to start winning games. Buccaneers are going to be 3, and we go to our final division, NFC West. Real quick, who you got?
That's a tough one. I'm going to go with the Cardinals.
Just terrible.
I really kind of like. I like what Kevin Cobb's doing. He's just getting the ball to Larry Fitzgerald. He's going to get him to the targets. Obviously, the Rams were not impressive at all last night on Monday Night Football.
Again.
I'm gonna go with the Cardinals, being that they needed that quarterback. As long as Kevin Cobb can get the ball out.
It's the same thing as the Houston Texans, so
Right.
Arizona's going to win because they have Larry Fitzgerald.
Right.
All right, so we've got all the divisions down. Real quick, Super Bowl. I hope you don't say the Bills. Who you got?
Unfortunately, no. I'm gonna go Ravens 23. Falcons 17.
Oh, we have to have a score?
I'm throwing a score in there
Oh.
just to make it a little more exact. We can refer back to it, on Super Bowl week. I like the Ravens. Obviously, a very veteran defense. Joe Flacco, he wants to prove.
I like the Ravens as well. I'm going to put the Ravens in there, and I'm going to go out on a limb. The Eagles are going to stay healthy. Vic is going to return better than ever. Eagles, Ravens, and the Eagles are going to win their first Super Bowl. Hopefully. Maybe I will be right, and they're going to win 31-28, and it'll be a very good one.
Interesting.
And if the Jets lose in the AFC Championship game again, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's not going to be pretty. This show was pretty, however. I'm Russell Simon.
I'm Mark Donatelli.
He's got a bad haircut, but it will be fixed for next time.
No, it won't.
Let's go get some Fruity Flakes. The breakfast of champions. See you later, guys. You want some of this? Yeah, so you know about the Jets.
My hair? It's like, really? Is it that bad? I'm a little insecure about it.
Dude, I'm just messing with
All right,
you.
thanks.
It's
I appreciate
fine,
that. All right.
Yeah, don't worry. You're fine.